Cuffs are off, man. Get right. Too many left in these leagues, but I ain't going.
Hey everybody, Adam Rank here.
What's up everybody? It's Marcus Grant from NFL Network.
This is AJ Dillon of the Green Bay Packers.
I got to give a shout out to y'all at Get Right Fantasy.
If you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? You want to lose your league?
Check out the Get Right Fantasy Network.
You got to get right with the Get Right Fantasy Network.
Best of luck with your podcast. Appreciate the support.
And you're tuned in to watch my boys at Get Right Fantasy Network. Get you right. Enjoy the show.
Marking often, but I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves up. Yeah, go and roll your sleeves up. And I'm getting down, cause I roll my sleeves up. And I'm getting right, cause I roll my sleeves up.
What up? What up? What up, world? Welcome back. I'm Classic Mike, and this is the Get Right Fantasy Network. Rasta is not here tonight. That's okay. He's at his son's football game celebrating senior night, so he is occupied. He might be in the chat. He might not. No big deal. But congratulations to his son on his senior night. They are, I think, 12-0 last I checked. So good for them. I hope they have a wonderful game tonight as well and win. Tonight is our game-by-game start-sit show, and of course we're going to be taking your questions throughout the show, so make sure you guys leave them in the chat, and I will get to them as we go. I'm going to probably get to them in the middle or right at the end of games so that we can make sure you guys can follow back later. We're going to make sure that we have each game broken down for you so that you guys can recap later. So make sure you guys check that out. We got Albert in the house. What's going on, Albert? Glad to have you here. If you have any questions, throw it in the chat. That's what I'll be here for today. So just a quick little, we're going to do a quick little recap of the Thursday night game as well with the Jags versus the Saints. It was a very interesting game. We'll get into that in a minute. We got Roberto Perez in the house. What's going on, Roberto? Glad to have you here. Like I told Albert, throw your questions in the chat. We will get to them shortly. Just a quick rundown of our particular show week for those who are joining us or new to joining us. We have shows like tonight on Friday. I will be here on Sunday morning as well at 11 o'clock to go over actives and inactives to make sure you guys get up to the minute actives and inactives, as well as any news that comes from today, tomorrow, or Sunday. We always know there's a little bit of news outside of that, mostly for the Monday night games, but there are also some Sunday night stuff that comes in as well. Then we're back here on Monday night with Rasta and Frank going over overreactions and waiver wire targets for the week. And then Rasta does his Rasta management and buy sell targets trade show with him and him and Frank. They help you set your lineup, and then we're back next week right here on Friday night. We're doing a little special one just because it's just me, so we did a little bit early. So thank you for all those that are joining a little bit earlier than normal. Just to let everybody know, also, keep an eye out for our 1,000 subscriber giveaway. We're going to be giving away this wonderful ring right here by our sponsors, TrophySmack.com. We want to make sure to give this away to one of our 1,000 subscribers. So make sure you guys keep an eye out for this particular ring. Keep an eye out for that particular video so that we can get that ring out and make sure it goes to one of you wonderful people out there. All righty. So before I get into the Thursday night show or Thursday night recap, we're going to answer Roberto's question. He goes, what do you think I should do with Pollard? He's my RB1 right now. Also have Breece Hall and a chain. Well, right now, I think you kind of have to hold tight and kind of deal with the fact that he's more of an RB2 now than he is an RB1. But to be fair, he is probably one of the better RB2s in out there. Once you get a chain back in 3 weeks, you should be good, and then you can maybe you're not going to have time to trade him off, but For now, I mean, if you really need a wide receiver, you can maybe trade him away, but I wouldn't sell him for nothing. I would kind of just at the moment stay fast with Tony and Brees. You'll have a better running back core than anybody. And then just, ride it out till you get a chain back. So that's my little bit of advice. I don't think you should really do much else at this point. Johnny D, what's going on, Johnny D? Glad to have you on tonight. I hope you're having a wonderful Friday night. Thank you for joining me tonight. We have Johnny D goes, unfortunately, I am 1-5. I'm sorry, man. That's okay. We'll help you out. He goes, pick 2. Davante Adams, Devontae Smith, Jacoby Myers, Christian Watson. Worried about Adams, Myers, and the usage of the unknown quarterback. Then again, I desperately need a win. Not a problem, my friend. So I completely understand, and I get where you're coming from. From the looks and from the reports that I keep reading, it's Brandon Hoyer. So we'll know more probably by tomorrow. They haven't really named it, but they keep dropping hints that it's Hoyer. So I feel comfortable with Myers and Adams, but I also, right now, it's so tough that I can go down different narrative streets for all these guys. Davante Adams just did just said all the things he just said about the concept of not getting the ball enough. He only got 2 targets last week. Before that, he had like 30 targets. I don't want to hear it. Jacoby Myers had a great game. He's been doing well. I don't think you can sit him for anything. I do have both Devontae Smith and Jacoby Myers in one of my lineups. And it's one of those things that I don't feel comfortable not using one of the 3. They've just been very good for you. Targets wise, touchdowns wise, everything wise. And Davante Adams, the squeaky wheel will come into effect. They are facing the Bears. That's the other part of this question that makes it where it's like, well, why not? And if you're picking 2 out of this group, I mean, these 2 aren't horrible options. If you want to diversify a little bit, go with Devontae Smith and Davante Adams. But Smith is banged up as well. So I would go with the healthier options, but it's not really healthy going with 2 guys from the same team. So I get where your dilemma is here. I normally don't try to carry 2 of the same receivers on each team. I don't mind carrying a running back or a tight end and a wide receiver. I try to keep it, but I don't use them at the same time a lot unless it's a certain offense. But in this case, it's a little bit different because the unknown quarterback makes things unknown. And even if it is Hoyer, it ain't Jimmy. And at the same time, they might not be too far off from one another when it comes to the accuracy and passing and all that. Bears aren't that good at defense. So, yeah, if you played both of them, I don't think you do too bad. Devontae Smith isn't a horrible option as a number 2, but you can't not use Davante Adams. So I think Adams is definitely one of the 2. It's really just trying to figure out who you feel more comfortable with as your second. And at this point, I mean, the over-under for that Raiders game is 37. I don't want to really get too much into that particular game in the context of using people from that game. I'm looking real quick. The Packers have a 45 point over-under. I might want to use Christian Watson here. And then the Eagles game is 51. So, I mean, Smith and Watson are probably your better bets after the fact. So Watson probably has the higher upside, but Devontae definitely has the higher floor. So if you're 1-5, I'm assuming you're trying to shoot for the stars. Watson might be the better shot, but I mean, it's based on how you did Thursday night and who you were facing. That's where I would probably make my decision. If I'm in a lead, I might stay with Devontae Smith and know that I'm getting a steady floor. But if you're behind, maybe Watson, but it's a risk reward. I don't have him ranked high. I wasn't really high on him in the beginning of the season. He's been out for the last few weeks. He only has the one touchdown from coming back. They've been easing him back in. They just came off a bye week. So that could help them, help him a little bit. It's really tough. It's really a coin flip for me. But like I said, I think Watson is your ceiling play. Devontae Smith is your floor play. That's the best advice I could give you, my friend. I'm sorry if that wasn't helpful. Jay Media, what's going on? He goes, what's up, Classic? I have an important flex question. Okay. Antonio Gibson against my Giants. All right. And your stash boy, Jalen Warren against the Rams. Not flexing Jacoby without Jimmy. Well, I don't care who's his quarterback. I'm gonna take Jacoby here. Like it's one thing to kind of be cute about it, but Gibson hasn't done anything that makes me happy. He got a touchdown last week. Good for him. It was the one he was facing me last week, so he had to get a touchdown. But before that, he had nothing. They basically been running through Brian Robinson. Their particular offense isn't that special. Jalen Warren is still behind. I mean, Gibson and Warren are the same player in my eyes. They're behind a guy that gets more volume than they do, and they get the occasional passing work, and that's about it. If you look at Jacoby the last few weeks, it's hard to argue. Like you have to understand he's doing it with a guy even like Jimmy. Jimmy is a game manager. He's just good at getting the ball and spreading the ball around. He's not anything special, but he's had 9 targets his first week, 7-2, 7-5. He's been or that's his receptions. I apologize. His targets are 10, 12, 4, 10, and 7 with 5 touchdowns and averaging at least 60 yards a game. I have no problem playing Jacoby Myers in a flex position over guys like Warren and Antonio Gibson. So I'm forced this week. Like I said, I have Jacoby Myers in one of my lineups. I'm forced to play him as one of my receivers just because I'm short on everybody else. Like this is a buy NATO week. I haven't even gotten into that part yet. I'm telling you, I don't care who's the quarterback. And he came in late last game. Jacoby got still five receptions off 7 targets, 61 yards and a touchdown. I understand. Let me double check to see when he got the touchdown. If it was, I'm pretty sure it was with Jimmy, but I want to see how many catches he had and passes and all that prior to Jimmy going down. So Hoyer, he got hurt so he got hurt just before the second. And it was in the second quarter. He was out after that. So the third quarter he came in. I see Devontae, couple passes, intended for, so 1. He even went to Trey Tucker, who's hurt. Okay, so he didn't get a lot of they kind of ran the ball a little more than normal, which, to be fair, I mean, Jacoby Myers takes up 83, I think it was 83% of their offense. So he's basically Christian McCaffrey on the Panthers. I mean, he targeted him on most of the throws that he had in the last 2 quarters. Yeah, so I feel comfortable with him either way. Even if he's mediocre, he still will do better than those 2. So that's who I'll go with. Jay Media goes, thank you. Not a problem, man. That's what I'm here for, to help you get through your week. All righty. So a few things going on. We're going to, like I said, we're going to review Thursday night's game. We're also going to go over the teams that are on a bye this week. Teams on a bye this week is crazy. Titans, Bengals, Texans, Panthers, Cowboys, and the Jets. That's a lot of people A lot of people out. You got to kind of have to work with things and move things around. Everybody's going to be running with, unless you're in a really, really, small league, you pretty much have nobody. I have lineups where I have Craig Reynolds as my number 2 running back. I have lineups where I have Devontae Freeman as my my first running back. Like, there are many different scenarios that you could be in this week. So I understand this is a very tough week. We will get you through it. So, like I said, throw your questions in the chat. We will get to them shortly. I'm going to break down Thursday night real quick, and then we're going to get right into it. So make sure you guys have those questions ready to go, and I will get to them shortly. So a quick little recap of Thursday night. We had the Jags versus Saints. Jags ended up winning 31-24. And, it was an interesting game to watch, to be quite honest. I like both teams. I like a lot of players on both. So for a game like this, I thoroughly enjoy it. One of the things that we noticed right away, Jags were killing it right off the bat. And then Saints got opportunities. They couldn't do anything with those opportunities. They couldn't move the ball. But there were a few things that happened in this game. Trevor Lawrence, he looked solid, poised. He seemed good considering his knee. He had a knee injury coming in late, or coming out off the short week. Travis Etienne, I gotta say I'm sorry. Like, I've been very low on Travis Etienne for most of his career in the context of coming off his Liz Frank. He's had so many different scenarios where I'm just like, no, but he's been doing very well. He's got a streak of two touchdown games recently. He's just doing really well. I mean, there's nothing you can do but just smile at everybody that you got him late and that he's killing it at this moment. Evan Ingram, solid contributor. He's just staying consistent. He's always going to be that consistent guy. I really enjoy Ingram as a one of those tight ends that can finish the year at tight end 5 and you wouldn't even know it. Christian, I think the biggest question right now is, who do we pick? Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, beginning of the year off season, everybody's screaming Calvin Ridley. First week, he comes out blazing, does well. Everyone is on top of that. Everyone is thinking that is the case. Within a week of that, Christian McCaffrey has been the leader of this particular wide receiver room. He seems to be the clear wide receiver 1. Ridley has basically been taken out of, I think he was taken out of this game by Marshawn Lattimore. That's just my opinion. Lattimore was covering him for most of the game. He only had 2 less targets than Kirk. And honestly, he only averages 1 less target from, on the average. So, okay, maybe it's just one game. We'll see. Kirk has been more productive as a whole, though. So at this point, I think you have to rank Kirk higher than Ridley. But right now, it's I see Ridley as more of a low end wide receiver 2, and Kirk more as a high end wide receiver 2. So you just got to be careful with that particular scenario, and try not to have both. I unfortunately have both on one of my teams, so I have to find a way around that. But at this point, you might be able to, sell Ridley for something good. I have to look into that. Saints side of the ball, they were hard to watch in some scenarios. Carr is mediocre. He's, he gets the job done. They had a lot of opportunities. Unfortunately, they only went with field goals or nothing, or they missed field goals, things like that. Alvin Kamara is a freaking stud. And if you grabbed him late in like the 8th, 9th round and you held strong and, benched him, you are reaping the benefits of what he is doing now, especially in PPR leagues. 12 receptions, 153 total yards, and a 2-point conversion. Unbelievable. For the wide receivers, Chris Olave, he led the wide receivers with 15 targets. But literal results at the end of the day. At the end of the day, Michael Thomas gets the touchdown, but not much behind it. Taysom Hill led the tight ends, doing well in a spot start, especially with Juwan Johnson out. Foster Moreau missed a really big touchdown. That was really sad. But I think Taysom can be a decent bye week fill-in, at least through week 9 and through 14, minus week 11. But otherwise, Carr's been playing hurt. I mean, if you watch the game, he went down at least once or twice, and each time it was for something new. He went down for a groin pull, and then he went down for another groin pull. He kept basically limping. He's like, no, I'm good. And Dennis Allen did nothing about it. Didn't put in Winston. Winston would have probably, we can't say that he would have done better, but I mean, you have another guy that can throw the ball for 5,000 yards. He threw for 5,000 yards in one season. I understand that he's the backup. Throw him in if you see Kirk hurt, or not Kirk, Carr hurt. Take him out. Say, sorry, bro. But it is what it is. So that's really my recap of the game. It was a good game to watch. We saw a lot. Hopefully, and all teams are not on a bye next week, which is odd in its own self. But we'll get at least 1 week that we don't have to worry about buys. All righty. So like I've said before, if you have questions, throw them in the chat. I will get to them right at the end of each of the games as we go through it. I'm just going to give you guys a few little tidbits from each game to give you guys an idea of what's going on, who to start, who not to start, things like that. All righty. First off, let's start with the Lions, who are 5-1, going to Baltimore to face the Ravens, who are 4-2. Baltimore is favored by 3 in this game. The over-under is 43. The Lions officially ruled out David Montgomery today. They have Craig Reynolds listed as questionable, and Jamar Gibbs is listed as a full go, so it looks like he is going to come off the injury report closer to the game. Now, Gibbs is still dealing with a hamstring. Craig Reynolds has a hamstring and a toe injury. So both are a little banged up, but Gibbs has practiced all week, which is good. Ravens don't have much on the offensive side of the ball that anyone's really worried about. There was no reports today of anything crazy. Most of their stuff is on defense. And most of the guys that you're playing on the Ravens, are healthy at the moment. You have Lamar Jackson, you have Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews. Those are the only 3 I recommend playing in any scenario. They're fine. And I think this week of all weeks, it's really just start everybody. Like you might be in situations where you have no other choice. My Dynasty League, I have like 7 guys that are out, and I only have a few spots that are open. I just lucked out in some scenario. So you just have to be kind of creative this week with who you play and trying to find that particular matchup. So like I said, the Ravens don't have anybody. If you're going to pick a running back from the Lions, this just feels like Craig Reynolds and Gibbs relieving him. Coming in on third down, grabbing that pass here and there. Dan Campbell is very hard to decipher what he wants to do. He said 100 times that he'd rather have one back carry it for 25 times than to have 2 backs carrying it and splitting it. So Gibbs is the one that's more healthy or the healthiest out of the group. Then you have Craig Reynolds, who's a little banged up, but he's more built for carrying the load, even though he is not Montgomery in any shape, way, or form. He did well in his assignment last week. I mean, he had a really good block. I mean, he is the definition of what Dan Campbell wants. Is just a gritty guy. And to be honest, I remember watching him in Hard Knocks, and he just seems to be that type of player. So do I see Craig Reynolds leading this particular backfield come Sunday? I do. Do I think Gibbs will have a good game? Maybe. At this point, the Ravens are 14th against the running back. That's middle of the pack. Doesn't mean anything crazy. I'm assuming the weather will clear up by then, because right out here in the northeast or eastern side of the country, it's a little rainy, a little gross today. I know it's supposed to clear out by end of Saturday, and then we're supposed to get a little windy and stuff like that. So if it is like that more towards Sunday, I'm assuming the run game will be prominent as usual for the Lions. They still have their passing options available with Brown, Williams, and Reynolds and Raymond. So everybody's still, kind of up. This game is kind of up in the air. 43 points is kind of middle of the road when it comes to a lot of things. So I feel a lot more comfortable playing guy. Like I have no problem playing Craig Reynolds in a pinch. If you're in a situation like I am for a lot of scenarios. So Craig Reynolds, I think you are okay with. The only tight end I'd play out of this group is Mark Andrews. I think Lamar and Goff are good options. I really do. I do think that both can do well in this game. I think Goff, has been on fire lately. If you look at his particular, stats, he has been consistently doing better. Last few weeks, he's had 5 passing touchdowns, over 600 yards passing, limiting his interceptions to only 2 on the year. Hasn't had really much else after that. So he's been doing very well with keeping the ball and doing, making sure that the team can score. And they've actually been very, very good at scoring. So Ravens have been mediocre. They've just won a couple games at the last moment. So this game should be interesting. Next game we're going to talk about is the Raiders, who are 3-3 at the Bears, who are 1-5. This should be interesting. Raiders are 2.5 favorites, favored by 2.5. The over-under for this game is 37.5. One of the lower scoring games out of this docket. Jimmy G is officially out. He will not be in this game. It is either going to be Brandon Hoyer or Aiden O'Connell. I think they're going to be leaning to go with Brandon Hoyer. On the Bears side of the ball, they have ruled out Roschon Johnson and Justin Fields. Roschon is still coming back from a concussion that he had 2 weeks ago, and Justin Fields is dealing with a wrist issue. Right now, Tyson Bagnet will be the starter while Fields is out. He's an undrafted D2 quarterback. He played his way to be the backup, so he is somebody. To me, my opinion, I'm downgrading everybody on the Bears side of the ball other than Devontae Freeman. Even though, and to be fair, he's already lower than most just because of the fact that the team is going to focus on stopping the run instead of the pass. So for me, I don't feel comfortable with DJ Moore. I understand DJ Moore is a stud. He is a great wide receiver. Not this week. Not with this guy throwing him the ball. I don't feel comfortable with it. I'd feel a little more comfortable with Cole Kmet. I'd feel a little more comfortable with whoever would be the passing option in this particular scenario, which would be Darrington Evans, most likely. Foreman is probably just going to be a safe floor guy. This game is going to, both defenses are not that great. Raiders at this point, Raiders are 25th against the run. The Bears are 31st. So if they go, towards the one thing they're bad at, which is running the ball, or not running the ball, defenses can't stop when you run the ball. they might just run it the whole game. Josh Jacobs is just on fire. Like I said, 83% of his offense. He gets 23. He averages 23 opportunities a game, which is insane. You're rolling with Josh Jacobs. I think they're going to do what they did a few weeks ago with Aiden O'Connell and just run Gibson into the fucking ground and make it where he's, 20 touches or more. And especially against this really weak Bears front, I think that Josh Jacobs is the start of the week in a lot of scenarios. When it comes to the wide receivers on the Raiders side, you got Adams. He came out saying, like I said before, about this whole, I'm not getting the ball enough. Cry me a river. At the end of the day, I think that Jacoby Myers and him and Adams can do just fine. I think Michael Myers is taking a step up as of late. He's somebody that you can consider if you're in a bye week hell type scenario and you have no other choice. I think he's not a horrible option as well. Cole Kmet, like I said before, he's another option too. But I think other than that, it's hard for me to pick DJ Moore as a player that I would play this week with a quarterback of Bagnet's. He's a D2 guy. I understand he's done well, but I just don't trust it. Until I see something, I don't trust it. So I can't recommend someone like DJ Moore in scenarios like this. And I really don't want a big part in this game unless I absolutely have to. Because, like I said, the over-under they're predicting as 37. Yeah, nah, not doing it. Moving right along, we're going to go to the Bears, who are 3-2, going to the Colts, who are 3-3. Cleveland is favored by 3, and the over-under is 40.5. Cleveland has Watson listed as questionable. And he practiced most of the week in some capacity, limited or close to full. And they're going to take until Saturday to rule on if he will play or not. So keep an eye out for tomorrow. They'll let you know if he's going to be in or out. If he is out, PJ Walker is the number 2. They brought him up. He should be the number 2 regardless. For the Colts, the only guy that's really out is Granderson. Alec Pierce is questionable, but he should be playing. Everyone else on both sides is fine. Jerome Ford is available. I think you can load him up at this point. The passing options are tough. I think you can play Cooper in these scenarios. Colts are 17th against the pass. Even with PJ Walker there, he did well. We got to see him do well, so Cooper is not a horrible option. I think the bigger question mark is Kareem Hunt. He's been questionable most of the week with an injury. He was limited in practice, so I still think Ford is the better option for the Browns offense. For the Colts, now we're starting to see more of a situation with Jonathan Taylor where him and Zach Moss are more of a 50-50 split. Which only makes Moss viable for one more week, and then it's pretty much sayonara. He could get traded. We don't know. At this point, it's one of those scenarios where Zach Moss is hard to play other than this week, and if you're playing him this week, good luck. But he's been doing well, even with Jonathan Taylor there. So it's hard not to start the guy, but I have him in a few scenarios where I'm just not going to do it. I think that I'd rather play JT in this offense. Gardner is Gardner. You're not playing him unless you're in a super flex deep 14-team league and you have no choice. But other than that, I'm probably not going to play Minshew unless it's a dire need. I played Derek Carr over him in one of my leagues. It worked out in some way, I guess. Michael Pittman's a tough option, but I think you can play him. I think him and Josh Downs are decent options. The hard part is Cleveland is one of the better teams against the pass. I mean, they are number one. So lower expectations. If you have no other choice and you have to play Pittman, play him. But if you have better options, I might go down that road. Same with Josh Downs. But I think out of the two options, I think Downs might be a better option just because I think the Browns slot play is a lot less than. I think the reason why their particular wide receivers are they're doing so well against wide receivers is not because of the corners. It's more the pass rush that is just getting to the quarterback so quick that they can barely throw the ball. Minshew is no different. So that's my only thing about that. So you're definitely rolling with Ford. You could probably roll with Cooper. Njoku has kind of fell off the face of the earth lately. So I don't suggest him. I don't think you're starting any tight ends for the Colts unless you're in bye week hell and have no other option. JT, I think, is the only other option that I would play from the Colts. So not a lot of options in this game, but hopefully it could be something decent since both teams are either at 500 or just above. All righty, moving right along to an AFC battle of the Bills at 4-2 going to New England to face the Patriots at 1-5. Buffalo is 8.5-point favorite, and the over/under is 40. No real injuries in this game to really worry about. Damian Harris is out. He came back to practice, limited, and then they just said he was out. A couple of injuries on defense for both teams. Nothing real crazy. Hunter Henry is still questionable, which isn't really a huge concern. I think the biggest question for this game is the concept of James Cook not getting as many carries as he should be. Right now, Latavius Murray has kind of taken more of a starter role, which, I don't agree with. When you watch the two play, you can see that James Cook is clearly the better running back. It boggles my mind. Like I was texting my brother, and I'm like, did James Cook break curfew or something? Did he miss a meeting? Did something happen where he couldn't? He's not starting? Why is Murray out on the field? Murray is a retread that came off the couch. I think Murray's in his prime was a great back, and he still has moments where he shows it. But James Cook is a different back. I don't understand it. Hopefully they get Cook more involved. But right now it's one of those scenarios where you have to kind of make a decision. Latavius Murray, to me, I don't think you can play. I think Cook is a better option. He's more involved in the pass. Even though Josh Allen isn't really one to dump off the ball, he'll either run himself or he'll try to get the first down, which is throwing it 5-10 yards. You're playing Diggs. That's not a question. I think you have no choice but to play Ramondre Stevenson in a lot of scenarios. So you have to play Stevenson. Mac Jones, you're not playing. You're not playing Devontae Parker. Juju Smith-Schuster, I think, is out as well. But you're not playing Kendrick Bourne or anything like that. What's the point? You're not. Mike Gesicki might be a decent tight end play if you're really short at tight end. But other than that, I mean, this is slim pickings for this type of game. I see just Josh Allen, Diggs, Cook are the only valuable options that I would play in any scenario in this particular game. So moving right along. And like I tell everybody, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. I will answer them as we go. So far, I haven't seen anything. That's fine. No big deal. This is one of the shorter weeks with buys since we have so many people or so many teams out. Makes these lists a lot shorter, which is also nice. So the next game is an NFC East battle between the Commanders, who are 3-3, and the Giants, who are 1-5. Giants are going to be having their legacy day. They're going to have all the 1980s. The field's going to look cool. They're going to have all different types of they're going to use the old Giants helmet and everything like that. Basically, they're going to have these guys out, which is great. One of my favorites. Yeah, that's my Lawrence Taylor signed helmet. Thanks, Dad. One of my favorite things, one of my favorite jerseys that they wear. So I'm excited for that. The over-under for this game is 37.5. Not that high. Right now, Daniel Jones is listed as questionable. It's highly unlikely he plays. So I don't see him playing. I think this is just, Dable just being cool about it. I don't see him playing. Commanders are pretty healthy on the other side of the ball. No real injuries to report. This game is a little bit more difficult. I'm actually surprised that the over-under is that. I think it's just really because both teams don't really put up a ton of points. But at the end of the day, who are you going to play? Saquon is definitely, you're playing him. Brian Robinson, you're definitely playing. When it comes to the QBs, if it's Tyrod Taylor, I'm not playing him. If it's Sam Howell, I might. Just because Giants have given up points as well. They are 16th against wide receiver. Not a horrible scenario. So I think Curtis Samuel is the best option right now for the wide receiver. He's just been on fire lately and seems to be Sam Howell's favorite. Terry McLaurin is a close second. Dohan Dotson. Where have you been, my friend? I was so high on him in the beginning of the season, and it's just shot me in the foot. It's sad to say, unfortunately. I tried trading for him in a bunch of leagues, and unfortunately, no one wanted it. Laughing all the way to the bank for that one. Either way, you can probably play Terry McLaurin or Curtis Samuel. I think those are two good options. Logan Thomas, throw him in. He's a low-end tight end one for me, but against the Giants, he can be even better. Giants haven't been that great against the tight end in the past. They continue to be 18th against the tight end as of late. So Logan Thomas, throw him in. He should be fine. Giants, like I said, right now it's just Saquon and Wan'Dale Robinson. I'll be the first one to tell you, throw in Wan'Dale. I think Wan'Dale has been doing well. Whoever is at quarterback, doesn't really matter. They're getting him involved. He's had at least 10 targets in every time that he's played. And I think at least 6 receptions in each game and about 50 yards. So he's just a low-end wide receiver 3, but he's consistent. So I like that from my wide receivers. Darren Waller has fallen off the face of the earth and has gone into tight end 2 territory, roughly. He's talented. His name is there. Unfortunately, nothing else because he doesn't get the ball, which is a shame because why did we pay him? Anyway, yeah, that's the Commanders and Giants game. Moving right along, the last game at 1 o'clock is the Falcons, who are 3-3, going to Tampa Bay to meet their NFC South rival, the Buccaneers, at 3-2. Tampa Bay is 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 37. This seems like one of those weeks where there's like so many games that are in the 30s that every game is going to end in the 50s. It just feels like that. It just feels like it. No real injuries for either team. I think both teams are pretty healthy at this point. You're loading up the main characters on both. Right now, you're going to, you can play Mike Evans. Mike Evans is sneakily being targeted more than Chris Godwin. Running back wise, Rashad White, you could play. I think he has a better floor than most, but he's a low end RB2 at best. Bijan, you're playing. Enjoy. Kyle Pitts is slowly coming back, but I'm not there yet. He's still a low or a high tight end 2. in my opinion. Drake London has been doing a little bit better as of late. He's more of a low-end wide receiver too. Jonnu Smith has been consistent lately, so I would rank Smith a little bit higher than Pitts, but it's only just because he gets a little bit more of those easier targets. So for me, I don't mind throwing in Jonnu Smith in a couple scenarios. He's been consistent, especially in PPR leagues. And then Caden Otten, you could he's not really doing great. He only gets like 2 catches a game. So unless those 2 catches are touchdowns, it's really not worth it. Baker and Ritter, not worth my time. There are definitely better options out there. Rather go with one of them. Moving right along, we're going to get to the 4 o'clock games. We got the Steelers, who are 3-2, going against the Rams, who are 3-3. Rams are 3-point favorites. The over-under is 44 points. So this game has a little bit more news. Rams right now, Kyron Williams they're thinking about putting him on IR. Nothing has been set in stone. They have until tomorrow at 4 o'clock to put him on IR. But it looks like the Rams are going to elevate Darrell Henderson for this game. They will have Zach Evans. They will have Royce Freeman. They will have Darrell Henderson and Myles Gaskin. So all of them are going to be available. Every single one of them. They're going to just be there, which is good and bad because we don't know who's going to be the guy that gets all the freaking touches. And I've been listening and watching and trying to figure out what's going to go on with this particular backfield. There was a transcript of what happened that Adam Schefter posted recently. So on if he will share it. So they asked him, "Are you going to share the ball, or share if who's the running back?" He goes, "No, I will not." Not to be rude on that. It's just there's no reason to share it at this point. That's what he said. Then they asked him on if he liked what he sees from the running back stepping in. And he went, "I did. I liked what I saw from all 4 of those guys." Darrell Henderson came back in. He's a guy that has that's going to be up and active this week. He's done a great job for being available or for being able to quickly reacclimate himself back to a lot of the things we have done. He is taking good care of himself in the meantime, and I have been pleased with Royce Freeman as well. He's smart, consistent. He's been ready for this opportunity. Zach Evans, a guy that's continuing to learn. And then Myles Gaskin being in Minnesota, being in Miami, there is some familiarity, and he's got a skill set that's intriguing. I liked what I've seen from him. So there's a possibility we have all 4 guys up, and if not, then we'll go with the 3, and then we really should still work through, truthfully, who's those 3 would be between those 4 guys. We might just have all 4 up. He's not sure of how many are going to be up, how many are going to be down, but it's clear to see that it might not be Zach Evans, who everyone thinks it might be. And that's where I think a lot of people are having a tough time. There's going to be 3 guys or 4, and which one is going to be the main guy, or going to be the guy that gets the most touch, or the guy that's going to do the most stuff. He's done it time and time again where Darrell Henderson might be a good option this week. Maybe people ran out and spent a ridiculous amount of money on Zach Evans, and they're going to regret it. So right now, I don't think you're playing any of the guys in the backfield. You got to play Puka, you got to play Kupp, and Stafford's actually a pretty good option as well. So I am pretty good with those particular scenarios. When it comes to the Steelers side, Deontay Johnson hasn't been activated yet, but he has practiced all week in full. He should be good to go. They can activate him as soon as Saturday. Most likely they will. I think they've been game planning with him. Pat Freiermuth is out. He will be out they said he might be out for a few weeks. So I would be prepared for him to be out for quite some time, which only helps his scenario. So Deontay could be a good play. I wouldn't expect the world from him. I would probably flex him in most scenarios. Pickens is in that same boat. Najee, maybe. If you're in a pinch, I mean, right now the Rams are 12th against the run. I don't know. Don't know how I feel about that. So, yeah. What else can I tell you? Higbee is hard to start. Stafford, you can definitely start without a problem. You can't start Kenny Pickett. He just is just weird. Anyway, that's what I have to say about that game. Nothing crazy. This is kind of middle of the road type game, but it should be interesting. So we got RS German in the house. What's going on, man? Hope you're having a good night. He goes, good evening, sir. Well, good evening to you too, sir. He goes, Jacoby Myers or Darren Waller, tight end premium. I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers. Unfortunately, Darren Waller has showed us nothing. I'm a Giants fan. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's a shame. I can't tell people to play Waller in any shape, way, or form. I don't care if it's premium or not. Even if he's getting 1.5 for every catch, I think Myers can outdo that by a ton. We got Worm in the house. What's going on, Worm? Hope all is well, my friend. Glad to have you back and here on a Friday. Missed you last week, as always. Did you win? I don't remember if you won last week, but if you did, you're doing well in the Dynasty League. I remember seeing you being 5-1, which is a rarity. Your team has been doing very well lately. You're in third place. I'm right below you in fourth, 4-2, doing well. Good for you, Worm. Glad to see it. Hopefully I'm helping you out in that one. No, I'm just kidding. But you took a loss to your brother. Why did you take it? Oh, you never lose to your brother. You left Zay Jones in the lineup. Come on, man. Come on. I know I wasn't here on Friday, but that doesn't mean that you should be, not pulling your guy out. Come on. You're better than that, Worm. You're better. Well, at least I think you are. You could have played Darius Slayton and done better. That's all right. No worries. You're going to do better this week. Who are you facing this week? You are facing, you got Joe this week? You're fine. And you're up 6 with 2 guys less than him, or he has 2 guys less. Yeah, you're fine. Joe is Taco. You'll be fine. All righty, let's move right along. We're going to go to the Cardinals, who are 1-5, heading to the NFC West rival Seattle Seahawks, who are 3-2. Sorry, I had weird numbers set up, and I don't know why. Seattle is favored by 8. Over-under is 44.5. So there wasn't much going on in this game. Kyler Murray is in the process. His practice window open. He's not playing for this game, but could he be available come the next few weeks? Possible. I don't see it happening, but it's possible. Right now, that offense, we're having a rough time trying to figure out what's going on here. But right now, injury-wise, they're okay. Seahawks on the other side of the ball, DK Metcalf, from what Pete Carroll said, DK Metcalf is pretty sore still from his hip injury that he suffered last game. He's going to be a game time decision. We are now in the 4 o'clock window. So if you have DK Metcalf, make sure you have somebody in that 4 o'clock window as well. You will know probably around 3:30 if he's going to be playing or not. And that's how you just have to prepare. There's no other way around it. So if you're going to do that, just set it up or kick him out of your lineup and put someone else in if you don't trust it. Gino, you can play without a problem. Ken Walker has just been on fire lately. You can even probably throw in Zach Charbonnet in some flex scenarios. But other than that, if Tyler Lockett's a go for it. He should be the heavy target. JSN, I don't trust yet, so I can't really tell you to play him. Marquise Brown has been doing well. Hollywood has been doing really well lately, so you can throw him out there. Michael Wilson is hard to tell. I like Michael Wilson, the player. It's hard to tell you to go, hey, go start Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson. It's hard. I can't do that. Zach Ertz has been shoddy lately. It's hard to tell. He's more of a high end 2, low end 1 in most weeks. He was highly targeted in the beginning, but that slowed down a little bit. This defense is a little bit different. For running back wise, you got Keaton Ingram. I think he's the lead back for this team until James Conner comes back from IR. Everyone went out and got the other guy, DeMarco. No. It's Keaton Ingram till further notice. But it's hard to trust at all. So I don't think I would do that unless you have no other options. Seattle is bad against the run though. 29th or 28th against the running back. So it's not a horrible option if you have to, but I would really stay away from it unless you have no other option. All righty, moving right along, we're going to go to the Packers, who are 2-3 coming off their bye, going against the Broncos, who are also coming off their bye at 1-5. Green Bay is favored by 1. The over-under is 45. The only person that is in any injury issue is Aaron Jones. He's questionable still with the hamstring injury. Not bad. I think you can pretty much load anybody up that you want to play in this game. I think Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Aaron Jones should be fine. I do think A.J. Dillon isn't a horrible option just because of how bad the Broncos are against the run. They're 32nd against the run. Maybe, not a bad option. Jordan Love should be doing good this game. So load all those guys up. It's hard not to say play a guy like Russ. He's been doing he's middle of the road lately. Denver's 27th. Or sorry, Green Bay is only 17th against the QB. He's definitely a super flex option. I wouldn't play him in redraft for other things. What else can I say about this game? Sutton, you can definitely play. I think Sutton is a good option. He's going to have Jair Alexander. I think this is the week that Jerry Jeudy might have a decent week just because they're trying to trade him. So I think Jerry Jeudy might be a play, or maybe not. Maybe he's a healthy scratch just so that he can be traded. So that you got to be aware of that too. So I don't think he will play. They have Johnston who could be available. Greg Dulcich, I think, is going to be out for this game as well. So then it comes down to the running backs. I think Javonte Williams is going to be a decent play, even though the Seattle Seahawks, they're 28th against the running back. So you can definitely load Javonte Williams up. I think he'll be fine. You can even throw in McLaughlin. He's slowly kind of losing his role a little bit now that Williams is back. So those are who I would go with. We got Worm with a question: giving up James Cook for Zay Flowers, yay or nay? So if you're giving up James Cook for Zay Flowers, are you good at running back? if you're good at running back and you're pretty, you need options and you need options at wide receiver to get a little more depth, then I'd be okay with this. But just because of how things have been going lately, I just wouldn't want to give up James Cook for anything less. I definitely think you can get, well, I value him a little higher than most, but what's your running backs looking like? Your brother just took my advice and picked up Darrell Henderson. Is he watching too? Lucas, are you out there? Are you listening to my show? You should. You're in 8th place. No, I'm kidding. You just had Kamara go off. You should be fine. Waiting on you, Worm. Let me know if you have any, let me know your running back scenario and your wide receivers so I can give you a better option. If it, you got Mixon, Swift, JT. Okay. Yeah, then I would do it. You got enough depth and you have Zay, you can get Zay Flowers, which would help any any wide receiver core. Yeah. I mean, if that's an offer on the table, yeah, I think I would do that. Mixon, Swift, and JT are, it's not horrible. Yeah, I would do that. You're a little short this week just having Swift and JT, but once you get Mixon back, everything should be good. Week 10, you should be a little bit light, though, so you might have to have options. Say Flowers. Yeah, do it. Do it. All right, moving right along. We are on the last game at 4 o'clock, which is the Chargers, who are 2-3, coming out to the Chiefs, who are 5-1. Oh, hold on one sec. Oh, so you have Hunt and Cook behind that? Okay. Yeah, I think I still do it. You still get better depth at wide receiver regardless. And it seems in some way, shape, or form, you're probably light at wide receiver. So, yeah. I think I'm still doing it, though. He's been on fire lately. And he's a really good receiver. I like whenever he touches the ball, he just has that look of a really solid receiver. So, yeah. So back to the games. We're going to do the Chargers, who are 2-3, going to the Chiefs, who are 5-1. Chiefs are favored by 5.5. The over-under for this game is 48. There's no real anything for this game. Everybody's pretty healthy. Chargers have no real injuries that they have to worry about in this game. So injuries are off the table for this, which is great. I think that you can still load up Keenan Allen, Eckler, Herbert. I think all three of those guys are good to go. If you're going to pick a wide receiver after that, James Palmer. But at the end of the day, you're not really, unless you're in a really bad scenario, I don't think you're playing Josh Palmer unless you have no other options. There is a league that I have to play Josh Palmer that I'm gonna, but that's about it. For the Chiefs side of the ball, I think Isaiah Pacheco, you have to play. Mahomes, you're playing. For the running or for the wide receiver, and you're playing Kelsey. And for the wide receiver, I think Rashid Rice is actually a really good start this week. He's going against the Chargers, who are 30th against the pass. I remember seeing something. I forgot what it was, where he gets, I think, 10 opportunities, or he gets 5 opportunities a game, and 10 opportunities a game, and he gets 5 targets out of those 10 opportunities, and he has made the most of those opportunities every time, each game, which means they are throwing to anytime he's on the field, they're throwing it to him. So he is worth picking up and or starting in most scenarios if you have the ability to do that. So he's not a bad option as well. I'm kind of shying away from other things. There was news that Mecole Hardman was traded back to the Kansas City Chiefs from the Jets. He'll be there. He'll be playing. Until I see something, it's kind of not worth it in my opinion. But who knows? Moving on to the Sunday night game. This one should be a good one. This is the Dolphins, who are 5-1, going to the Eagles, who are also 5-1. Philly is 2.5-point favorite. The over-under for this game is 51 points. No real injuries to report for this game. Devontae Smith is on the injury report with a hamstring injury. He said, and I quote, "I'm fine." So he will be there. He let everybody know he will be available. So beyond that, I think Dallas Goedert is also on the injury report, but he should be off it by the end of the day. Everyone else is pretty good and up and running. I haven't seen anything about Jeff Wilson playing yet. He is still in the practice window, but hasn't been activated yet. So right now, it's just Raheem Mostert and Salvon Ahmed. They've been doing pretty well on their own. They should do fine moving forward. Right now, the Eagles are getting back a lot of pieces on defense. They're getting back Jalen Carter. And I think Darius Slay is going to be back. So they'll be at full tilt, but they've been a little bit weak lately, weaker than they have been in the past. They are right now 23rd against the wide receiver. That is pretty significant for them. They were a lot higher at the beginning of the year, and they are also – where are they? Oh, and they're one of the better teams against the running back. So right now, I'm still going to play Raheem Mostert regardless. He's matchup proof and the running back one in the year. So I'm not going to not play him at this point. If you're going to go Salvon Ahmed, good luck. I wouldn't. You're going to play Waddle. You're going to play Hill. Both are going to be fine. You won't have to worry about that. Tua you can play as well. Hurts you're playing. For the running backs, Swift, of course. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, I think you can both play. I think even Goddard. You can pretty much play anybody in this game, in my opinion. I think it's just going to be a shootout, so it should be fun. So, Luca Magic in the house. What's going on, man? Great to have you here. Thank you for dropping your question in the chat. He goes, drop one. Ferguson. I have Thomas. Stroud, Goff. I have Stafford. Ingram, Downs, Reynolds. Half PPR. Oof. That's a tough one. I would probably go with Josh. I'm going to have to go Josh. I want to go Josh Reynolds here. I don't think I could drop. You're not dropping Stroud. You're not drafting Goff. You're not dropping Stafford. The fact that you have all three, you don't really need those three unless it's super flex. Ingram, I think you can use. Downs is good with Minshew. And Ferguson is solid even with Thomas. Reynolds is the odd man out, even though I like the offense. And Reynolds has been doing pretty well. Yeah, he's the first one that I saw out of that I went, yeah. So I'm going to have to go with Josh Reynolds if you're going to drop one of those guys. I think the number 2, if you're not comfortable with Reynolds and you want to drop someone else, would probably be Downs. I think that you're getting a better quarterback. Yeah, you know what? Scratch all that. Drop Downs out of those group. Like Reynolds does well with Goff. Goff has been doing well in general. Minshew has been mediocre at best. He's just moving the Colts down the field. But Downs is hit or miss at best. Yeah. So for me, yeah, I'm going to drop Downs out of all those guys. I think everyone else you can keep and kind of use accordingly when you need them. Good for you. I wish I had KJ Osborne in my flex for a lot of scenarios. I have him in my flex for Scotty Fishbowl, but that's about it. Nothing crazy for him. All right. Well, if anyone else has any questions, throw them in the chat. I will get to them right at the end after I'm done with the Monday night game, which is the 49ers, who are 5-1, going to Minnesota to play the Vikings, who are 2-4. San Francisco is 6.5-point favorites. The over-under is 44 points. Right now, their injury report for the 49ers is a little bit difficult. Christian McCaffrey has an oblique injury. He did not practice for 2 days. Deebo Samuel still has not practiced. Neither has Trent Williams. So those big three are currently right now they're leaning towards not playing. So if you have Christian McCaffrey, you better have Jordan Mason or Elijah Mitchell. If you have to ask me right now, gun to my head, who's going to be the better back? It's probably going to be Elijah Mitchell. I think a lot of people spend a lot of their fab on Jordan Mason thinking he might be just because he got targets. But remember, Elijah Mitchell was the healthy scratch that game. I think that it's Elijah Mitchell for this particular game. If you're going to pick a running back, I think Ayuk is fine. If you're going to pick if you want to go with another wide receiver, Juwan Jennings is not a bad option. I do like him a lot. Kittle's fine. You can use him. Purdy, I think, will do just fine. Cousins is doing what Cousins does. Just he's average. Well, he was a lot better at the beginning of the season with Justin Jefferson, but unfortunately, he is not there. Cousins is still playable, though. KJ Osborne is a decent flex option. Jordan Addison as well. TJ Hawkinson is a must start. You can't not. Alexander Madison, you can play. I think Cam Akers is the only guy that you're probably not going to play out of these particular people. But other than that, this game should be interesting to say the least. My only advice that I can really give is, like I said, if you have Christian McCaffrey, make sure you have a Monday night option or a late Sunday option or just a late Sunday, any type of late option. Just because you'll be able to put one of those guys in if you get news prior to the game. He's Christian McCaffrey is a top option. So he gets a lot of coverage news-wise. So if it's going to come out at one point during a game or something that he's not going to play on Monday night, then at least you have a pivot option. That's all I would say. So that is our game breakdowns. Thank you all for joining. Don't worry, I'm not done yet. I'm going to answer your questions in the chat. Make sure you guys throw them in there. George LeBron, what's going on, LeBron? How are you? It must be, God, what time is it over there? This is, George is from Australia. So I forgot what time it is over there now. But thank you for joining me this late at night on my end of the world. He goes, I'll ask tomorrow, but for my flex in PPR, DJ Moore, Jacoby Myers, Rashid Rice. I have Pachenko at my running back too, if that affects Rice for my lineup at all. If not, I'm not sure. So, oh, wow, it's 1:30. Oof, 12, almost, wow. Crazy, 13, 14 hours? Jeez. Yeah. This is bedtime for me, my friend. You've already had a full day ahead of me. Jeez. So for this, it's on a normal week with Justin Fields playing, I would tell you DJ Moore. But since it's not, it's definitely between Jacoby Myers and Rice. I feel a lot more comfortable telling you Jacoby Myers just because he's been doing well lately. Rashid Rice might be the better option, though, just because you got 48, the over-under is 48 in that Chiefs-Chargers game. They've been giving him the ball more often. You might not see as many targets as Jacoby, but he's been getting better opportunities, better quarterback. He is the lead receiver. So, and that's where I was going. So Hoyer is probably playing QB for, even though that's the case, they've at least had the full week to kind of prepare for it instead of getting it halfway through a game. When you watched Myers was his target, even though Adams was there and only got 2. They were in a situation where Adams was covered by one of the better corners. This game, I think, is going to be a lot more difficult just because, you can pretty much go off, but at the end of the day, who knows? I would probably lean Rashid Rice for this, even though I like Myers a little more. I think I like Myers just because I have him in a lot of leagues. But Rashid Rice, I do see a path for him to do well in this game. But like you said, having Bachenko kind of just throws me off. But Rice is definitely a good option. This game, like I said, is 48 points over under. It's an interdivision game, so they all know each other. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to lean Rice in this one, and you're going to have to play both. It's just how it goes. I have to play Jacoby and Josh Jacobs in one league. So it's just how it goes. This is a bye week, man. We just got to get through it. Got to get through this week to get the next week where there's no one on a bye. And then after that, there's a bunch of buys for week 9. And then week 10 kind of levels out a little bit. Week 11 and has a little bit. We'll get through. Week 13 is going to be the tough one for a lot of people because that's where a lot of people have a lot of good players. So that's going to be a tough week for everybody. So make sure you guys throw your questions in the chat. I'm just going to give a shout out to our affiliate podcast right here, the Fantasy Frontline podcast with Tim and AJ. Make sure you guys check them out. The Checkdown podcast with Cody Magotes and Shirtless Pat and the crew. Make sure you guys check them out every Wednesday night at 8:30 Eastern, as well as the Dead Zone Fantasy Show with Adam, or AKA Dem Boys. He will be bringing you that shortly. Hopefully, he can get his stuff started soon. Also, make sure you guys are checking out TrophySmack.com. Like I said, keep an eye out for a giveaway video. We're going to be giving away this 1,000 subscriber giveaway. We're going to give away this ring, so make sure you guys are paying attention and keeping an eye out for that video. But also, check them out for your own leagues. They got their own custom rings. They got the belt. The belt. They also got trophies. This is their best seller or one of their best sellers, as well as customized chains for, if you want to look like Kirk Cousins. So make sure you guys check them out. Also, make sure if you haven't already, register for an account for right over here, Underdog Fantasy. When you do, use the promo code GETRIGHT. They will double your first deposit. So make sure you guys check them out. All the links for these places are in the description. So make sure you guys use those links, use the promo code GETRIGHT right here, and they will double your first deposit. So check them out as well. All righty. So since I don't see a ton of comments or questions in the comments, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you all that have been in the chat. LeBron, Luca, Worm, J Media, Albert, Roberto. Thank you all for joining. And I will be back here on Sunday morning at 11 o'clock to go through your last minute start sit questions. So if you didn't get a chance to get into this particular show, come join me on Sunday and I will answer all your questions on Sunday morning, as well as going through actives and inactives at 11:30, breaking down some news and notes from between now and then so that you guys have all the information leading up to kickoff at 1 o'clock. Then join us again on Monday as Rasta and Frank break down all the games, all the overreactions, give you some waiver wire targets. Then on Wednesday, Rasta will do his Rasta management with Frank and get you guys some buy low, some buy and sell targets. And then we'll be back again soon. I'll have Rasta back. Don't you worry. Football season is almost over for the high school people. And we'll get him back in here, and me and him will have a full show together soon. I promise. But thanks, Ant. Appreciate it. He says, great show. I will see everybody on Sunday morning. So for Frank, for Dustin, for Rasta, I hope everybody has a wonderful week 7, unless you're facing me. Also, a quick shout out to Frank. Happy birthday. Hope you enjoy your birthday, big man. I will see you soon. And other than that, I hope everyone has a wonderful week 7. We'll see you soon. Peace.
Wanted to write fantasy is the play. Marking nothing, but I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided.